fiddling because that makes me feel better for some reason. All right.
So I just did too. So
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to the Fox and the Film podcast. I am your host, Josh of Josh T Film. On a very nice setup today. I tried to make myself look very, very presentable and cinematic for you, even on a freaking Zoom podcast. But I am joined today by a pretty recent friend in the scheme of things, but someone who I think's got a lot of cool stuff to say about film. I am in the world of film. He is my senior, definitely knows more, but I met him because I am his senior at our kendo club. As we attempt to become masters of the sword. And so I am joined by Max Whitworth today. How's it going, man?
Hey, not so bad, not so bad. I am on a dog shit setup, the exact opposite of that.
I'm overcompensating.
I mean, hey, if you've got a good setup, you've got a good setup. That's just a good thing.
Like I this is like a basement room. I like got kind of nothing else going on in my life. So I'll just overcompensate with high video quality.
Yeah, there you go, man. Camera guys, gotta have good cameras.
Right. I said, like, if I say I'm a cinematographer, I should like look like it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what's nice about being on set in other roles is I don't have to buy all this expensive equipment all the time.
Oh, the notion of like being able to rent stuff sounds like heaven to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I couldn't possibly imagine getting all this stuff myself. And there's a lot of DOPs who have just like vans filled with equipment, lighting equipment, stands, fully ready to go cameras. And I'm like, what an investment this was,
I'm the minor version of that guy. I know that guy.
Yeah, that's definitely a dude.
Yep. But yeah, so like I haven't really had the chance to sit down with you and talk like about our professional worlds because we're normally dressed like samurai, like
and swinging sticks at each other,
trying not to kill each other with wooden sticks. But yeah, so like tell me, like, where, like, were you like the kid who was like always into movies and like it just made the natural manifestation to like making it your life?
I would say as far as movies go, not necessarily. I was more into storytelling in general, like just as pen and paper RPGs, imagination with my friends when I was a really little kid took way more of a precedent over any kind of sport. Like by the time that we were turning like 10, 11, we were still kind of like getting our toy guns and going out and doing stuff. I made a couple of short films when I was like really little, but it was something that I don't really look at and go, see, I've always been a filmmaker under there. I just feel like I don't know why I don't connect the two. Film was not my first choice. I originally went into theater,
right?
Because I really enjoy like the process of theater acting and how you get the whole story from start to finish, and you can kind of follow an emotional journey yourself as an actor, which I am not anymore. But that's how I started. It sort of just fell into my lap, and I kept doing it, and now I'm here, and it's a great thing to be doing. I can't really see myself doing anything else long term.
Right. Yeah. I think like we all have that thing of like, yeah, we do stuff for money, but that's all it ever is. And but like no matter like if we were each spending 80 hours a week in some like money making career, we would probably still say that we're filmmakers.
Yeah. There's
because of those 2 hours a week that we did on filmmaking.
I actually quit a job when I started doing this full time in like 2017 or so.
Yeah.
And it was a messy kind of a breakup from this job, but my manager was a film student before he fell off of it. And so he kind of like privately told me later that he can't even really blame me for just disappearing essentially and like kind of telling them off a little bit. And I was like, just like, what happened to you, man? What happened to your dreams? God damn it. Even people who have been doing other things for years still kind of like have that I was a filmmaker once inside them. I don't know what it is. It's almost like, some kind of religion, it feels like, where it's something that encompasses you. It's like a big part of you and it stays with you for a long time.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a quote that I always come back to. It's I forget the name of the actual author. I think the book is called Letters to a Young Writer. Probably Google that, it'll turn up. But I know it from Sister Act 2.
okay.
Um, and she's like giving advice to Whoopi Goldberg's character is giving advice to her student, and she's this a student who's like got a lot of talent for singing, and she says basically the gist of this is don't ask me if you're a singer slash writer slash filmmaker, whatever. Don't ask me if you're that thing. If you wake up in the morning and it's all you can think about, that's what you are.
Mm. Yeah, I always say the only qualification for being a writer is whether or not you consider yourself a writer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I'm like in the middle of a rewatch of one of my favorite shows about a writer, Californication.
Okay.
And yeah, like it's David Duchovny plays like a like disenfranchised like New York novelist who moved out to California for work, and like he like hates California, but also like it just embraces all the vice of it.
Yeah, man. That's pretty freaking rock and roll.
Oh, it's total. That's like it's the total vibe. It's a Showtime show. It's like just nudity and drugs and sex.
Yeah.
And
The world of being a screenwriter, man.
it's
all just
it's the when a TV show would come up, like the following program contains nudity, sexuality, coarse language, and so like, oh, good television. All right.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so you said it just kind of fell into your lap. So I'm saying, was like one big project fell into your lap, or friends pulled you in? Like, how'd it happen?
Well, originally I got sort of coerced by my parents into going on a trip to New York in high school that I didn't want to go on because it was Warhammer 40K Games Day was in Toronto that weekend, and I was like, no, I'm going to that. I don't want to go to New York. And they were like, don't be an idiot. And I was like, fine. So I went on this trip, and it was a trip with the drama class, and
Yes.
I ended up bonding with the teacher, and she convinced me to take her class, and then it was the only class that I was not a C average in.
Yeah.
And so I was acing this thing, and I was like, okay, there's got to be something there. Went to film school for acting and took all my electives in behind the camera because I wanted to understand sort of how all of it worked.
Right. Yeah.
Got out and realized that, like, you learn Stanislavski, Meisner, how to reach deep down into like the little nitty gritty bits in your soul and sort of pull up all the pieces that you don't even want to acknowledge are there. And once you get into the world of acting on film, everything is like, now hold this sign. And the line is, I'm feeling like chicken today. And I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore, man. I would rather not act and make something worth acting in.
Oh,
I guess
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just
so the acting stuff you got put on was just terrible.
Yeah, I never got a role that I thought was like, good. Everybody kind of put me in like kind of comedy, doofy sidekick characters, and I'm
Okay.
like, I'm already like getting pigeonholed a little bit, and I just started, which I know is not the case now, but it's how I felt then.
Right.
And then I flipped sides, and I just preferred it. I felt like it was a better atmosphere. I didn't feel separate from the crew, which was something that I didn't like when I was acting. Was like the crew felt very like bonded and familial.
Yeah, like I have heard that before. Like actors are the actors, and like they're kind of like the director is the gatekeeper between like behind and in front of the lens, it feels like.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. And like, yeah, so the actors only deal with the director, and then there's like all these people behind that camera, and like there's no interaction sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, and you're hearing all these like jokes and people, saying things that make no sense, then everybody laughs, and you're like, oh, they've got all these inside jokes. They're all so cool with their Carhartt beanies, man. I wish I was cool. And
every time I spot one of those freaking beanies, I at a distance, this is just a stupid me thing, but at a distance, the Carhartt logo looks like the logo for Crunchyroll, which is the anime streaming service.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm like, at a glance, I'm like, oh, other anime nerds, let's go talk. Oh no,
No.
it's
See,
just Carhartt.
Carhartt logo is like leather brown. There's your key identifying feature. Just ask yourself if this is a dirt brown Crunchyroll logo, and if it's yes, that's a Carhartt jacket he's got on.
Like, oh no.
Man, there's only two types of people. I saw this on a Facebook post, like a meme somewhere. It's like there's only two types of people who wear Carhartt: people who are forklift certified and people who are indie filmmakers. I was like, it's so true. It's
As someone who's worked in enough factories to go and confirm.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I've also spent the past few years in live entertainment, just as like a grunt, not in anything like in any kind of capacity, but just building stages. And so I met a lot of forklift certified people, and it's true.
Yep. Do you still own a what is it, USCA certified pair of shoes with that green tag?
No, I was never hip enough for any of that.
I still have them, and I still use them.
Oh, good. Good.
For one of my just for money jobs is I take 3D scans of houses being built. That's one of my,
that's awesome.
That's one of my weekend jobs. It's literally like there's no creativity for all. You trigger it with a phone. You literally have to step out of the room because it'll see you otherwise.
Yeah, it's like there's an age-old expression: you do one for them, so you can do one for you.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of how you got to survive.
Exactly. Yeah. As a self-employed cinematographer, like those are the kind of jobs you do. And I used to work as a marketing specialist for a construction company, so like those were clients. I didn't poach them, but they like came as a result.
Yeah. I mean, you go down weird roads out of nowhere. Like, I got ingrained with a production company that had just like, I don't know, this might be a bit of a tangent, but
go for it.
I was stuck with this production company. I say stuck because they were paying me enough money to live my life, but unfortunately I then had to do the things that they asked, which was Jesus Christ. Like we're talking like 16-hour days every single day. Yep. And like I would maybe get a week and a half or 2 weeks between films, and the films would shoot for around a month, right? So it'd be like a month on where I had no time, with a terrible schedule that I'm sure anybody who works in film regularly will be familiar with, where you're like, on Monday you're up at 5, then on Tuesday you're up at 10, then on Wednesday you're supposed to be there for noon, on fucking Thursday you're supposed to be there for 4, and then Friday's an overnight. You get the weekend to reset yourself, and it's wow, it's a tough way to live. I've since COVID happened and I kind of remembered what it was like to be a person, I've walked back my involvement to sort of working day jobs and doing the projects that I want to do.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a lot better. It's a lot better.
And it kind of goes back to a point that I wanted to start on. It feels like that really feels like part of the trial by fire. There's you have the day job.
Yeah.
And that, and so, but I wanted to tie it into this sort of overall question is, because I'm completely self-taught. I'm from the age of, the first wave YouTubers really. And a lot of them were filmmakers who couldn't get into the system despite being talented and having good ideas. Just Hollywood didn't want them, particularly like guys like, Freddie Wong, if you're familiar, right? Like they were, special effects guys, but they wanted to be filmmakers, but Hollywood wouldn't take them. So all they could do was friggin' paint out, like rotoscope out cables was the only work they could get in Hollywood. And then YouTube happened, and,
that rest was history, sort of.
Right. Yeah. And like, I don't think Rocket Jump even like does YouTube stuff anymore. If they're even still a company, they're just doing everything on the DL, probably for brands and stuff. But it was definitely those first wave YouTubers who like inspired me to be like, okay, like, I've been a cinephile my whole life. Like I was raised on this massive library of VHS tapes. A lot of them completely not age appropriate. I think my parents will just own that now and say like, yeah, we don't care. Yeah.
I think that's good anyways. It develops you faster. It helps you become a person.
This right here behind me, Cool World, okay?
Yeah, I know it.
the super sexualized version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, as I like to say. And I was watching that when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw Saving Private Ryan for the first time when I was 6, and that opening scene, I can remember going into my backyard and being like,
Shelf
holy shit. Just like, man, I can't ever join the army, man. Oh my god.
No. my version of that was like being like, seeing Top Gun and all the Iron Eagle, the jet movies, like,
that's all cool.
I want to be a fighter pilot. And then I actually went on like a commercial flight for the first time. It's like, shit, I don't like flying.
It's a prerequisite for being a jet fighter pilot. Is
okay, so I guess military service isn't in my future.
Yeah,
of course, that was at the age where you changed your career aspirations every 3 weeks anyway.
True,
so it was all good. But yeah, so I have to ask about this because, again, being completely self-taught, no like formal education in film per se. Like I learned graphical stuff. Like I learned how to edit video in the program I took, which was web design.
Yeah, but like shooting and actually
exactly. There was no like talking about like how to produce content. They said like, hey, maybe you're gonna like get thrown a bone and somebody's gonna want you to like do some quick Premiere work on their website or whatever.
Fun.
Oh yeah. Riveting. But it's just like, so really my entire perception of what film school is like is from movies like about film school. And like, so there's I've been going to, the reference I've been going to is the one character in Rent who's the film student. And like,
God.
Right?
What's his name? David or whatever. He's the blonde guy in the film.
Yeah, they all have such normal names. It's hard to keep it. Roger, like the weird ones are Mimi and Angel.
True.
And but yeah, so like I've like, so because of only having that frame of reference, I have this mysticism about film school in my head when it's probably like needs to be shattered and be made more normal, of like imagining it as like this very bohemian life of like you're barely going to class and you're off with that like 8mm film camera just doing your thing. Is it way more sitting in your desk reading books than I think?
100%.
Yeah.
And like the best part of it is that there's a bunch of people who really want it to be like the gorilla down and dirty out there getting it done sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they only have the reference of films about that to work off of. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes more like this shell personality thing where like they're trying to figure out who they are, they're trying to figure out what they're about. And so there's like pockets of people who are trying to get that to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's just not gonna happen, but like it's part of the process. Like if you it's you're 18 and you've got an idea and you need to feel like you want to feel like, same with acting students too, which I've got a little bit more involvement with, like sort of like artificial kookiness, I guess, where they're like, okay, we're not like regular students, we're acting students, and you can't predict what we're gonna do. And I'm just like, you guys are adorable, and it's all part of it. But
I'm just imagining, like, I went to Niagara College. It's like pretty standard fare. I'm imagining like just a bunch of like Jim Carrey wannabes, like growling, doing faces all the time for no reason.
That is exactly what it is. It's the chick on the subway doing her vocal warm-ups, and you're just like, oh. I get that, you have no fear and stuff, but at the same time, please.
I'm just trying to get to class, man.
I just do them before I leave the house because I don't want to do them on the subway.
Right.
It just feels uncomfortable for everybody else there.
That's hilarious.
But again, it is like it's part of the whole like figuring it out thing. So I'm not like trash talking that. It's just behavior that I see and kind of think is cute, I guess.
Right. And again, it's like I feel like it's not even just like you do performance as your vocation. It is now there is a performance of being a performer doing performing almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Yeah,
exactly like that.
Like, cause I like sort of was in a very like weird like fringe position among social groups in high school. So it was like anime nerds and like people. It was like anime nerds, drama people who were just edgy for the sake of being edgy. and like maybe a couple like kids who were in French immersion and weren't anymore.
Yeah, and
Like that seemed to be the people who was around me.
yeah, and like I mean, when you're young like that, it's all part of figuring out what you are like. I feel like a lot of high school kids like feel like they need to have a thing that they are,
Right.
as opposed
being part of a tribe feels good when
being
you
part of a
don't know
tribe
who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
like, am I the funny one? Am I the this one? Am I the cool one? And like flip flopping back and forth, being like, God, I don't have an identity, and just like that being so much of figuring out who you are.
Mhm.
I mean, one level up, and you've got film school students going out with an 8mm camera and talking about how this is real filmmaking, and you're just like, well, I mean, everybody who is filming something is doing real filmmaking. There's no this is better than that.
Are those the ones who like all think they're budding auteurs basically?
They don't exist once you get into the real world. Is sort of the conceit of it. That's it. 1 month on set will teach you more than 4 years of film school.
That's kind of like what I figured, and like I said, I hold this kind of like Neil Gaiman talks about this, where he says like, I hold like this weird mysticism and reverence for higher education that I never got, and and he's like a best-selling author despite having never gone to school for it, and I feel like that's my camp of filmmaking.
Yeah, I actually dropped out of college.
Right.
After a while, yeah.
Yeah. So like, and that also seems to be a common thread. Is like, I heard Kevin Smith told a story about that. He went to Vancouver Film School on like some special program, and he dropped out over 6 months because they did nothing but theory.
Yeah, and I mean it's all theory from a bygone era too, which is sort of something I was noticing once I started working, is that a lot of what we had learned is almost no longer applicable. I mean, things like focal length of a camera, like that doesn't change, right?
Right.
But I mean, shot composition and like what you're supposed to do. I just feel like the conceits of the modern world sort of aren't what's being taught anymore, because the people who are teaching haven't been doing it for a long time in a lot of cases. And so we're getting, I mean, in acting school, we got advice on how to get an agent that didn't include the internet.
Right. Okay.
Because you know what I mean? Like, which is like, are you kidding me? Everything's online now.
Right.
We just switched.
And in fact, I have this thing that I keep coming back to of like, is the whole like, in the case of say like singers, comedians, kind of performance artists, is that whole notion of putting your hours in at like shitty dive bars even a thing anymore? Or like, are people just straight up like get it on YouTube and hopefully somebody will see me?
No, in the world of comedy, that is absolutely still the way that it goes. Yeah, totally. When it comes to comedy, I mean, the theater is only the way that it used to be, because there is no real new development in theater, because sort of and if this gets seen by enough people, somebody will fight me on this. Nobody really gives a shit about theater anymore, I feel like. And I mean, that's not hard to.
My experience of that is the people who care about theater are people in the theater.
Exactly. So
but here's the thing. I love like taking in a live show. It's just like I'm not actively seeking it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's how I feel too. Like I've been to a couple of plays in this year already, and it's neat, and I like it. But to expect it to be an art form that's going to see like a renaissance, I just kind of don't see it happening. It's like if you're either into it or you're not, and the people who are into it are a much smaller group than people who aren't, and that's just the way it is now. And I think that's the way it's going to be with film in general soon, because of the shift from feature film to like TV series. The quality is shifting very noticeably.
Right. Like, yeah. And it feels like a TV series is not like a 22-minute episode sitcom. A TV series is 10 one-hour episodes with a single narrative arc.
even if they're 1 hour, like the season finale of the last season of Stranger Things was like 2 hours long, and then the episode before that was like 40 minutes, and I'm just like, we've done away with time constraints. We're just telling the story in the amount of time that it takes to tell it now.
Yes,
which is, I love that. I really like that. I think it's a great change. But yeah, just the quality of serialized television has. You can say that the golden age of television is whenever you want to say that it is, but I think the reality is that we are in it now.
Definitely a golden age for certain.
Yeah, it's massive resurgence, and I think that the focus of filmmaking in general is by and large shifting to like serialized television.
Right on.
We're seeing blockbuster films and groundbreaking indie unique television.
Perfect. Yeah. So actually, I do want to talk about that a bit more, but we need to take a short break. And there's going to be like a little spot here. I like to include the little in transition part is going to be a shout out to a small company or cool indie production or something. For those who didn't see it last time, it was my friends at Sci-Fi Candy who make the best nerdy swimwear you're ever going to find. So yes, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more about film now. All right.
Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying the podcast so far, but I wanted to take a minute to give our little shout out. In the spirit of supporting indie filmmaking and in celebration of Pride Month, my shout out this time is for a small production that is happening in my local area, and that is a little series called The B in LGBT. I came across this project because I know somebody on the cast, and I was able to go out and attend their Kickstarter launch fundraiser, and there's a lot of passion and talent on this project. A quick synopsis of what this series is. The B in LGBT is a dramedy that follows the life of Cole, a newly out bisexual college freshman who finds himself moving into a communal household with 4 other students who are just as determined to not let their sexuality define who they are. And now, while I am not a member of the LGBTQ+ community, I am a friend to many in it, and I am always excited to share and support the creative endeavors of the community and allow you new and unique stories to be told. And that's why I really want to give this project its shout out and hopefully get it some support. They are in the midst of their Kickstarter to get their pilot episode going. I believe they are around 75 to 80% of their goal as of recording this, and they could really use the support to get it going. I'll include a link in the show notes, but otherwise, to find it, go to Kickstarter and look up the B in LGBT. Thank you, and let's get back to the podcast.
All right, everybody, and we are back. I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
Yeah, actually.
How is that? I like talking shop with people, and this is like, I feel two sides of the same coin experience. Like you've been through the school version, and I've been in the let's try and figure this out from scratch version.
Yeah, that's actually something that I wish that I had more experience with, because it's, I think, the more valuable of the two. The upside to going to school is that you get to meet a lot of people and you get a lot of consequence-free attempts.
Yes.
Which is nice.
That's totally a thing I wanted to get into. There is basically, I started, my career, and I still kind of doing a lot of commercial stuff, mostly for other people, but I know that I want to be working in more narrative capacity. I love telling stories, and so just kind of curious. You said at practice a couple times that you usually end up working on 2 productions a year completely for free, just because that's how you keep busy and keep a name out there, I guess.
I can't not.
Right. Yeah. And just so how do those indie productions happen and come up for you?
Really, really organically. Basically, somebody has an idea, and then we just start talking about it, and then somewhere along the way, if it's a good idea, a script will appear. Usually, in my circles anyways, I'm usually the one doing the writing on the script, or a couple directors I know write it, and then we kind of just pass it back and forth and work on it together.
Yeah.
And then a production team comes in and question mark, and then we have a film. It's, whatever the production guys do to get the money to make the film, I have no understanding of it. I don't know where investors come from myself, because I write the script, and then they tell me when the shoot days are, and then I organize the shoot from there, right?
Right.
Because by the way, what I do is my main two sort of things in the film industry is I am a screenwriter and I am an first assistant director. And so yeah, for those who may not know, basically I just organize the shoot and then yell at people.
and then the guy one notch above you on that call sheet gets all the credit.
Yeah, basically. But don't tell him
I call those you'll appreciate this being a tabletop guy. I call that being a cleric.
Yeah, I'm 100% a heel bot.
Paladin slays the dragon, but he did almost die 10 times, but you made sure it didn't happen.
So the nice part is that internally there's recognition, so that's kind of good.
Yeah.
People I work with are aware of the value that I provide.
Yes.
And they talk about me, earnestly.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm getting sidelined. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do feel like that has been a more recent thing, because of many of the old gatekeepers not being gone but being less effectual. The need for the people who make things happen is greater and more appreciated.
Yeah, and to the tune of old gatekeepers and making people feel like they're sort of welcome. I have two stances on welcoming people into the industry and what a set should be like.
Yeah.
So one of the secret parts of being an assistant director is that the crew is very much looking at you to set the tone for what's how we're going to behave on set. And nobody tells you that. You kind of just got to notice it after a certain point. And so making sure that I have a mantra, which is that happy people work hard.
Yes.
And so making sure that everybody is having a good time is, I think, good for them as people and good for the production as a whole. I mean, when we're down to the wire, I take all that stuff off and start barking orders a little more traditionally. But for the most part, if we've got a well-structured day, we're going to probably be having a good time. I'm going to make you have a good time. Damn it. And when it comes to new people joining the industry, there's this sort of period for a year, 2 years when you're getting into on-set work specifically, where your life is just shit and you're PAing for next to nothing. And you're working these insane hours with no creative control. You're basically just like a grunt laborer / coffee gopher. And I know for me, I was at some points kind of wondering, or rather, I say that, but it was a lie. Other people were wondering sort of why I do it and why anybody would do this. And even after I've gone beyond that stage and I'm sort of doing what I would like to be doing more in film, my girlfriend is still like, why you do this? And I mean, I think that making somebody ask themselves why they're doing this is a really, really important part to getting the right people in the industry. Because it's a glamorous industry. People see it and they want to be a part of it. But to walk onto set and expect it to stay glamorous, it's not going to. And you have to get put through the ringer to determine who is actually passionate about this.
And this is kind of funny. This can almost go back to stories we've been told about the martial art we do, about doing kendo. Is that's sort of, there are some schools of teaching it that beat people down so you know who the real ones are.
Yeah. But the difference is that there's almost no other way to do it, because we need that PA and we need him to be putting boards down over top of muddy patches in the rain at 5 a.m, because we need to get carts up this hill. And if we show up and they're not down, somebody's got to do that.
Yeah.
Why would sort of be the new guy? It's the shittiest job.
Right.
And if being on set and being a part of this thing is important enough to who he is as a person, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And then he will be able to move forward in his career after a reasonably short amount of time doing it.
Yeah, I think that's good. I feel like I have this discussion a lot with my parents and people who are slightly older than me. I'm 33, so I'm at the cusp of a weird time in terms of what work ethic is.
Yeah.
And I think like I think it's a good experience to have, to be the lowest guy on the totem pole. Because like it will, if you started at the top, you've got no appreciation for everything along the way.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Like, you know, and I often think about like, you know, certain people who come from film families and like they know from their parents' stories that they need to, you know, start at the bottom. And I'm pretty sure that like we did not know that Bryce Dallas Howard was Ron Howard's daughter for the longest time. I think she went by Bryce Dallas for that reason. I
didn't even know that now. So that's okay.
Yeah, right?
There you go.
Like, oh, she's good. Yeah, it's in the blood. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she went by Bryce Dallas for the longest time because she didn't want the association. She wanted to like cut her teeth and be known for her own work.
Yeah.
Another great example of that is Enrique Iglesias.
Really?
Yeah, he's Julio Iglesias' son, who's a legendary Latin performer.
Wow. Okay. Well,
and he went by a pseudonym for the longest time before like people knew that he was good. He's like, oh, by the way, yeah, I'm Julio's son.
You got a leg up in the young instructions department.
Yeah, it's like
son of a bitch.
Yeah, so like I do really appreciate the people who will like hide lineage like that,
and it's also
take that shitty job and then really know how things are done.
It's important to make sure that you're getting taught the lessons that you need to be taught at that stage in your career as well, because they're important lessons. You know, things that work, what it's like to be mistreated, so you can recognize it for the rest of your life. What being treated fairly looks like. And although I did mention that I think that the grueling and arduous process of being a PA who's new on set and all the things that you're going to be asked to do, like I did a 31-hour day for $100.
Oh my God.
Like these are just like, it's just some of the things that you're going to get asked to do when you're starting out on set. And while I think that those hardships are good and like very sort of formative, I guess, and to help you understand sort of what it's about, when it comes to respecting the actual person, there is you 100% you have to respect everybody. Like that PA is now where you once were, and you have to treat him well, because that guy is still dragging a big piece of plywood through the mud at 5 a.m. in the rain. Yeah. Like this guy's saving our day. And we need to acknowledge that. Like I don't tolerate like people being mean to each other on set. Right. And I typically, it rarely happens, but when it does, I have to pull people aside and kind of be like, I can't have this because these guys going to bail on us.
Right. So have you been in many situations where like, from what I understand, like you have the call sheet, and that is almost sort of your hierarchy of who's the most important here?
I wish it wasn't, because it's literally, look, man, I got to tell you when to get to set. I don't want to go back and flip things around for the sake of ego, but you know, I do. I just know I have a blank template that has the order that people are expecting to see in it already. But have I encountered people being mean on set, or like
because of like supposedly thinking they're higher up in the pecking order?
I gotta think of an example of that. Higher up in the pecking order, and it happens less often than you think.
Okay, that's good.
At least in the world that I'm in, I've dipped my toes into like studio stuff, and I never really enjoyed it. I don't really want to do like big studio. I stay in the world of indie intentionally. Yeah, you know, like it's cooler, man. I feel like a bunch of kids with cans of spray paint like tagging a building with a mural in the middle of the night. You know, we're just like running around like, don't get permits, but like not getting permits, and like
I've been on a couple of sets where we maybe broke into an abandoned house.
I mean, don't as far as advice goes, but like you gotta. It's definitely the coolest way to do it, man. It's real.
It is the whole culture of like, you are the people who want to, either tell a story or, maybe if you're a documentary person, you want to show like the world how it is. But it's like there's just risk. If you want it to be any good, there's usually some sort of like personal risk.
Yeah, I was watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy again for the upteenth time.
Oh, why wouldn't
I mean, I've seen those films countless times, but I was watching them again, and I was telling the guy that I was watching it with, I'm like, these are like the greatest indie films ever made. And he's like, indie films. And I'm like, I mean, stylistically, like the way that they went out and did this and got their shots and like built these sets. It's like, it feels very like here's a waterfall. We need a waterfall. We're going to shoot at the waterfall. Here's got a guy with a camera, got a couple of dudes like Hollywooding bounces next to him. Yep. And like the actors are interacting with an actual real environment that we just found. It feels like I think it's the way to do it. It's the contrast between the Mandalorian and Andor. You know, Andor's on location, sets built, people in places, and although the volume is a massive technological leap as far as,
and yet sort of bringing new life to an old technique.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally.
It's rear projection, which is
I think too that rear projection. We were talking about this with I almost said the Wizard of Oz, but that was matte painting backgrounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, like old car scenes where you'd have people driving in like the 40s and they just had like a screen behind them. Yeah, like that. But at the same time, I think that in 20, 30 years, we're going to look at green screen and chroma key and just kind of be like, wow, we really did this. And consider this the way to do things. Like that's such an arcade.
And like, I was kind of thinking that just now. I'm like, right now, if you were making the Lord of the Rings, and this is I didn't watch all the Hobbit movies because I felt like they were unnecessary. I feel like that one did have a lot of green screen elements, and the original trilogy had barely anything.
But they used it where it was necessary.
Right.
That's going to stay true for the rest of.
But then at the same time, going back to The Wall and my favorite movies over here.
Yeah.
Sin City 100% on a green screen.
Yeah, but Sin City is a stylistic film.
Exactly. That's where it worked. It's like to this day the best movie that looks like a comic book.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely looks like a comic book.
Like even the way like action is depicted. Like if it wasn't, I feel like if it wasn't those directors, this would have been hokey as shit.
Yeah, but like, God, I love it when he's getting interrogated, and then at the end of it, he just stands up, and all of his ropes, like all the ropes binding him, break. Marv.
Oh yeah,
he's just like, okay, we done. It's just like,
I love that character so much.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
I had to take my medication. He's just pouring pills into his mouth.
Yeah, for apparently like pretty advanced schizophrenia too. So like maybe he needs that much. But it is fascinating. So being in the indie scene is I kind of had to bring this up. And again, world of YouTube, is this necessary anymore? You'll probably say yes because you're in it. The film festival circuit, really still a thing and really still necessary? ?
Really still a thing, really still necessary.
Go.
Okay. It's a thing. It's a bigger thing, I think, than people realize. And getting your films through the festival circuit is sort of instrumental because while you're showing them in part to sort of like the public who's into indie film, most of it is other crew. And so it's almost like a networking event. And like a place to sort of sell your resume almost.
Okay.
So when you're at a film festival, what you're watching is a sort of new talent coming to light and discovering them through that. Like once you get if your film does well at a film festival circuit, in the film festival circuit, I should say, your odds of getting a budget for your next like film are going to be much, much higher.
Okay.
Because the people with the budgets are looking for the next thing.
Right.
And like it's like a job fair.
Right. And so would you say that holds more value than, say, getting it up on YouTube and getting a lot of views?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can't guarantee that the people who are giving you the views on YouTube are going to be able to give you anything for it.
Right. Yes. That is again, I said I've been on YouTube since its inception, and like I know for a fact like the money on YouTube is gone. I'm like, and here's that I espouse the values of YouTube and so much that I do in terms of I think it is the vastly superior option for free advertising.
Oh yeah.
Like, get your, I like to use it as a personality tool.
Sure.
Like people are going to be watching this here on YouTube. It's to get to know me. Like this is a bit of my interview. Like you're going to see that like I come from a pretty deep-seated love of movies, and like I care about quality even on a freaking Zoom call. And
yes.
When you work with me, I'm not Mr. Mousy quiet. Let me point the camera where you say. I'm like, let's fucking do it. Like I got my stuff. I'm like, let's make a movie, even if this is your commercial for your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that YouTube has no value, but I think that in terms of making like large films, structured films that require people to be on board and get paid, the best way to get into that is to beat yourself relentlessly for like 9 years. Get a film that makes it to a festival where you will meet the people that are going to take you the distance.
Nice. Okay.
It's an important thing. I didn't think it was. I kind of don't care about film festivals myself because I'm not really looking. I'm not an investor. I'm not a producer. I'm not somebody who is trying to spot talent. And when I'm there usually like in an assistant director capacity, which means nobody talking to me anyways.
Don't look the help in the eye.
Yeah, don't look the help. Yeah. Or just like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. So anyways, and I'm like, that's great. I wrote the entire first half of this movie.
But there gotta be a bit of pride seeing your work up on screen.
Oh, I'm much too bitter as a person. Just like they can't believe that they shot it like this. Just like sitting back and they're cheering. Are they stupid? This movie, nothing like we wrote it.
I do that with my past self. I am angry at my past self. Like, even though I didn't know things, I'm like, oh, Josh, like, what were you doing? Like, I always like think about the first, like, I got into using a camera at anime conventions. I was like interviewing cosplayers. I'm like, I know I put a camera on a tripod, had it on auto. And like, oh, Josh, don't let this ever see the light of day. And you won't. It won't. It's gone.
Yeah, everything I made as like a kid. Actually, I dug up the student film that we made a little while ago and very quickly realized that there's a giant hole in the front of my computer where my DVD drive used to be.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I don't actually know how to watch this thing. I have to go and like borrow a USB DVD player to watch this film, but I promise it sucks.
All right.
It's a guarantee. But like student films suck. It's
right.
That's just what they're for. They're there to get you learning and to understand things.
I think like the only people who I know who apparently made really good like student like graduation films were like Zemeckis and Gale.
Yeah, I mean, I bet even they had a whole bunch of just garbage ones before that.
Oh yeah, it was that's a great example of highly recommended Netflix viewing, The Movies That Made Us. Yeah, that's good just like short documentaries on like iconic movies, and this was the Back to the Future one, and it like shows they had like 5 flops before they had one that like was good and gave them enough credit to do Back to the Future.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be making oh my god, sorry, I just went and got it on Netflix and it started talking to me. Yeah, no, you have to. I call it necessary dog shit.
Yeah, okay.
You have to create your necessary dog shit. It's just part of learning anything. Like I'm there right now in kendo. you know,
Oh, yeah.
where like I suck at it, but I suck at it in a way that's productive and helpful.
And then again, it's the like, oh, this like my arms hurt. I'm not doing good. I gotta come back next week. This is so good.
Yeah, it's like
It's a very similar feeling.
you want to write a movie, you got to write a shitty movie. You want to write music, you got to write shitty songs. You want to make movies, you've got to make shitty movies. Like you have to make something terrible, or you are nobody banks it.
Yeah,
it's just impossible.
It's the old like my favorite version of this is failure is just success training.
Yes, that's a great way of looking at it too.
Yeah,
that's a much more positive way of looking at it.
Yeah,
it's success training. Yeah. Well, you got to go train for success by doing a terrible job.
Exactly.
So anybody who's watching this, if your student film is bad, good work.
Good job.
Good
show
work.
Show it to us. We're probably gonna laugh at it, and I hope it's laughing with you.
Yes. I mean, it won't be. The student film is just like I put my heart and soul to this thing, and nobody cares.
I did. I've got some early turds in my repertoire. Like I'm talking about from when I was a kid, and all I knew how to do was like rip off video games I was playing at the time.
It's like at one point of probably like 2018, the greatest script that I'd ever written, and I like championed it, and I printed it and gave it to people who I never saw again, and they have this script somewhere, possibly their garbage can. And I went back and I was like, it's a good idea, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I read it and I was like, oh no,
this is out there.
People read this. There are people who have no idea that I got better than this, who think I'm, like, oh, but you have to. And it is a good idea. I think I'm going to rewrite it. Or I've been trying to rewrite it for a while, but other things keep getting in the way.
Yep. All right. So like one last talking point. I love to talk about this with movie people. Just people who are big fans of movies. The Academy. This is the people who do the Oscars, right? I have a real general loathing for them.
Okay. Fair.
Because I hear a list of nominees and I have never even heard of these movies. And these are supposed to be the best movies out that year. This year was a massive exception, and it was really refreshing because I knew so many people who saw Everything Everywhere All at Once and said it was amazing, and then it won, and it's like, okay, did the Oscars finally like take their head out of the sand? Who knows? Maybe they're just like feeling the pressure to stay relevant. I don't know. But like, have you been a person who like said like you hear a movie's an Oscar winner or Oscar nominee, do you then seek out that movie as being of quality?
I watch every Best Picture nominee.
Okay,
that's just something that I strive to do. I last year was an exception. I don't know why or what was happening at the time, but for some reason I didn't watch anything from last year, and I was like, kind of like, damn, I'm ruining my own tradition here. But but I don't know. I still got to get around to it. I still haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, so that's where I'm at.
Me neither. But like, it's on Prime now, and I have Prime, so I can get around to it. Doing this podcast was actually supposed to be motivation to watch new movies. Because I got into a bad habit of watching comfort movies over and over again. I do it so much. Much.
Yeah, I could get into that, but I want to talk about the Academy here. So first of all, I clearly don't have any personal experience with them because I am some guy in Toronto. So like the ins and outs of it, I don't really have a lot of information. But when it comes to as a viewer, when I think about it, I think that my like paradigm shift on the Academy Awards changed when I started viewing the nomination as the prize.
Okay.
And then the winner was just whoever they owed something to or whoever deserved it for things outside of filmmaking. Like Leonardo DiCaprio didn't deserve it for The Revenant or whatever he won it for.
I think that was it, yeah.
He deserved it for his career.
Right.
But were there better actors that year? Yeah. Like there were people who outperformed him in that year, and if they come back up, they're going to be owed the Oscar that they were robbed of because they had to give one to Leo because they had to, right? And so I feel like the actual victory has too much politics behind it for it to be considered like truth.
Yep.
But I think that the nomination, once it's nominated, that's the victory.
Yeah. And you get the, what is it when you I used to work in a video store, so I get to have these great memories. Yes, kids used to rent physical copies of movies. They were all lined up on shelves, all in a row.
I was there. I seen it.
Pretty girls all in a row to be picked and taken home. And that was I forget the name of the thing, but the fig leaves, I think it is, that you would get on your
the laurels.
The laurels on your box art when you got Oscar nominee. And like, man, they like, if they got those laurels,
man, no more laurels than on an indie film. You watch anybody's indie film and you're gonna get about 16 of those in the beginning, different plates, going so fast you can't read them. You're just like, look at all my fucking laurels. And like, I mean, if you get awards during the film festival sort of circuit when your film's going through it, because there's like a million categories, you're gonna win something.
Right.
Like if you don't put that on your film, then no one's gonna know you're a badass. You have to put it on there.
Yeah.
But also, it's like when I see it, I'm just like,
yeah. The last one that I like, I think it got like, it was mostly actor awards, but it was the one that I like, okay, I think I need to see that with Silver Linings Playbook. And I bring that one up a lot. I brought it up on the last podcast too.
A classic.
I think it's like 90% I'm in love with Jennifer Lawrence. It's bad. I'm so, like, she's got a movie coming out that's like probably going to be wildly forgettable, but I'm insanely excited to see it because they're basically just letting her be herself.
Well, all right.
Where like foul-mouthed Jennifer Lawrence, if you've ever seen interviews with her, you know she can't stop swearing.
That's my kind of woman right there.
Oh, I love her so much. I like, it looks like this is the movie where she gets unleashed, and I'm like, I am there day one for this. And it's just like a bad rom-com by all accounts.
Man, did you see that video where he talks about rearranging the movie Passengers?
No. The only things I saw a bit of like Chris Pratt on like Graham Norton, because I love the British chat shows are vastly superior to the North American ones. I will fight anybody who says otherwise.
All right. I don't disagree.
Go look up Graham Norton clips, people, if you don't know, because they get to swear, they get to like be candid. It's not as flowery. The takeaway on that one was like on Passengers was them just going, oh dear God, I didn't realize there was that much sex in this movie.
All right, hey, you're alone on a ship with one other person for your rest of your life. What else you gotta do? And
it's like, and that was like, it doesn't even have to be opposite gender at that point. Like, the rest of your life, I'm going gay, I guess.
I guess I'm flipping, yeah.
But in that case, it just happened to be two incredibly attractive people.
Well, what are the odds?
And Michael Sheen as the robot bartender.
Yeah,
I was into that. But you're saying what about rearranging it?
So basically, if you took the film and made it so that the first act was Jennifer Lawrence waking up, and he's lying about, like, we both got woken up, what's up with that? And then like it's a reveal in the second act that he's the one who did it, as opposed to seeing him be alone and then waking her up, and then the audience is not with her when she's like discovering what's going on. It's kind of not much more to say than that. It was an interesting video. It was a Nerd Writer video, if you know that guy.
No, not familiar.
You should be.
Okay.
You should be.
100%. All right. I guess I've got homework to do.
Oh my God, it's not even homework. It's you're just gonna like it.
Okay.
I'll shoot it to you right now.
All right.
There you go.
There you go.
That's it.
I got a
little bite-sized videos. I'm doing advertising for this guy now. But yeah, no, it's anyway. More just if you watch that, you'll understand it. I don't really have anything else to say about it that he can't say better.
Okay. But
I just see some Jennifer Lawrence and I was like, oh yeah, Passengers rearranged. That was a really good idea. You should watch that video. I don't.
Yeah, I'm just like
that.
Yeah, when it comes to Jennifer Lawrence, it was like, I watched Silver Linings Playbook, and it was like that. I was talking about this on the last podcast, and I was working at the video store at that time, and you got to take the movies home before they're on the shelf.
Yeah.
So that you could watch and recommend, and it was like, there was some logic to it, but it was really
Okay.
it was really just a perk of working in a video store. And I remember I did 3 movies all in a row that were about various forms of mental illness. And I like left feeling like so emotionally drained after that like marathon viewing. So like it's why I like haven't watched Silver Linings Playbook since, because the prospect of like, I love that movie. It was a fantastic movie and the ending made me so happy. And it was like, but I know there's an emotional drain that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I got this poster right here. You see Puella Magi?
Oh, it's it's Magica. Yeah.
Yeah,
The cutest, darkest anime ever made for the uninitiated.
it is one of the only pieces of media that has taught me what a fate worse than death means. The week, like the 3-day period that I binged that show in, I like came downstairs afterwards just like getting a coffee, just like
if you're only listening to the audio version, you guys are missing out on like deadpan isn't even the appropriate word. Like this was like a face bereft of the concept of hope.
Yeah. What can I say? All this acting training is really coming in handy. And you can see possibly why I stopped doing it. Yeah, what a like. Isn't that the whole reason that you watch a movie in the first place? Is to
to go on the emotional journey.
Yeah, it's also to sort of like teach you about other aspects of being a person in ways that you couldn't figure out in your own life. It's like getting to live hundreds of lives and taking all of the experiences from them. And before anybody can say, well, they're not real lives, they are real lives because real people took their experiences and portrayed them accurately for you to understand through the lens of a fictional character. You're being taught how to live in ways that you could never have been taught in your waking life. You know, it's like it's so ingrained in humanity, like learning from stories. It's something that we've been doing since the dawn of time. Anybody who says prostitution is the oldest profession is not thinking about storytelling.
Okay.
Singing, storytelling, prostitution, oldest professions.
Okay.
In that order.
All right. So, somebody I know is going to fight you on that.
Somebody I know could try. Wait, is he in the kendo class? Because then he could actually beat me.
Oh, that is the best with our relationship through martial arts, is like when you say, I will fight you. Yeah, at the end of class, we'll be fighting each other for real.
Yeah, I'll try to do
it is a joke, but also like sort of I mean it, that like I do believe that like personal grievances should be settled through a duel of some sort. Like
be settled in the ring.
Not saying duel to the death, but like hell, even like in Yu-Gi-Oh world where everything is settled with card fights, I'm like, I kind of could dig that world.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Where like you are right by virtue of your skill.
Yeah, let's bring back trial by combat is the short answer.
Oh, I'm a little too into the idea, but also oh man, that just means like big dumb guys who can cleave you in two are now running the show.
Yeah, boy. I mean, I'm glad that we stepped away from that and learned how to specialize.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, I'd be so done. I am like 5'10".
Oh yeah, and like me, despite being like a big guy that I am, I got a knee injury. Like that came into play last week.
It did.
It did. I went down hard.
Yeah, I mean, even like on camera, I think I looked like remarkably smaller. He could pick me up by my head.
That's the video footage of me like when we're like say doing kendo, like 2 guys in armor. Which one are you, Josh? The big one. Duh.
Yep. Martial arts.
All right. So we're just about out of time here, but we'll take like a minute and a half or whatever. Max, what are you like into right now? Movie, media, whatever that has you excited and you think other people should see?
Ooh, that's a great question, man. You give me a minute to think about this. Damn,
We got
need
about,
all day to think about this.
I know it's not fair, but yeah, we got like 3 minutes left here.
I honestly, the thing that's getting me the most excited right now is the way that Disney is finally figuring out what to do with the Star Wars franchise. Finally, after
Nice.
I'm one of those guys that hates Rogue One, and like,
I like Rogue One.
This is going to be longer than a minute then. But no, I'm not going to get into it.
That'll be after the cast. We'll do a bit extra.
Sure. Mandalorian and like Andor, and I'm just like, oh, thank God we got the sequel trilogy. We got all these like Star Wars stories movies that kind of felt like they were like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And now we're finally seeing something good. As far as technology goes, I think that with the volume, Pixamoto, what we were talking about before with having a bunch of screens and your live VFX so the director can line up a shot on set. That's a post shot, which is like, whoa. That's huge. And AI, man, like how many years is it going to be before you can learn how to use an AI program and skip all of production and just get the film from the brain to the screen? Like, is it going to rock the industry? Yeah. Are you kidding me? But I got to see what happens.
All right. Okay. So if you want people to follow you, where would they do that?
Oh, great. I Max Whitworth on Facebook. I don't update my IMDb. I'm at _Tirambar_ on Instagram, and you can see me take pictures of myself sitting on set deck couches on that Instagram page. Honestly, I don't have a lot to plug. I've got a film that will be coming out next year that I wrote, and until I know what it's going to be called, I don't know how to recommend it. So give me a shout out when it's out.
Will do. All right. So you can follow me. It's at Josh T Film on everything, because I can't believe I actually got that. It seems so generic. And the main place to get everything is joshtfilm.com. Thanks, Max, for coming on.
No
so
problem.
good to finally chat with you like this. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify and Google Podcasts. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for having me, man. This has been great.
So good.